All right, I got to walk into this tiptoeing a little bit because I know how this goes, right? Giants have won 6 of 7 since I was absolutely irate on these airwaves, and I already know, because I've seen it all over social media. If I say anything good about the Giants, people will be like, "Oh, you gave up on them last week.
You buried them."
What did I say? Like literally 8 times within that rant. I'm not giving up on this year.
Oh, I don't remember it that way. I'm just kidding. You said it over and over.
It wasn't about that.
It wasn't a give up. It wasn't about the standings.
It wasn't about the standings.
It was about the optics and the fact that what?
It was
this team was not exciting.
Yeah, it was about the Dodgers taking over the stadium. It was about just the way you look. It was about the lifeless nature of an organization. It was about the morale that you've created within the walls, all of that stuff. It was never in May about giving up on a season. So let me tell you a little story after our most recent caller said, look, guys, they're not going to win it this year. Okay. Thank you, Grandy. I can remember when Joaquin Arias and his legged out ground ball after Hunter Pence's speech in Cincinnati. Thank you, Grandy.
For the yes. You probably couldn't see that.
Yes, no, you couldn't see it. We do need a camera in there. Grandy and Lucas are wonderful characters. When are we getting the camera in there? When are we getting the camera?
No, we don't need that.
We need a camera. You're handsome men.
You'll just catch me yelling at Lucas 24/7.
That's why we want a camera.
Totally.
What were you saying about Joaquin Arias?
Yeah. Anyway.
Hasn't played since 2015. Go ahead.
Prior to that game that kept things alive, 2 days before Buster Posey took Matt Latos into the stratosphere for salami. 2 days prior to that, okay? Giants are down 2-0. I'm on a call with my dad. We've watched sports together my entire life. I used to sit next to him on the couch when the 49ers were down in the fourth quarter, and he had this little thing in his neck that would start pulsating. We called it the Niner Pulse because it would only show up when the Niners were losing. Okay? We're diehards. We watch it all. We did it our entire lives together. Now, the Giants, at that moment, they had just won the World Series. They were still in the shadow. The glow was not gone yet. And I can remember, this was not a call even about the Giants. This is just my weekly call with my folks. And I'm sitting there with my dad, and I go, you know what? Look, there was never any chance that they were going to win the World Series this year anyway, and I don't care. I don't care because all I wanted my whole life was for the Giants to win the Super Bowl. For the Giants to win the World Series. Right? I was a kid who grew up in the 80s. The 49ers were winning Super Bowls by the time I was 7 years old. And the Warriors were like, well, that's never going to happen.
Right.
You know, like.
You didn't even think about it.
But the Giants had just won the World Series in 2010. And I was still so in the glow that I was like, Pops, it's all good. Just won the World Series a year and a half ago. Right? And they're good. It's a good organization now. They were never going to win it this year anyway. And so, whatever. I don't even care that they're going to get swept out of Cincinnati. Pops, it is all good. Giants never had a shot this year. They've maxed out by getting this far. Okay. Then they win 3 in a row. Then they do what they're doing out there in St. Louis. Then Zito happens. Then they never lose again. And they are crowned again. And you know this. We've talked about this. I could argue that every time the Giants won the World Series, at the start of the playoffs, you thought, I'm not winning the whole thing. That's a stupid idea. I'll never forget when I think it was J.P. Morosi sat there to preview the World Series against the Rangers, and the thing hadn't even started yet in 2010, and he's like, well, the Giants are already down 2-0. Because Cliff Lee does not lose postseason baseball games.
Yeah.
He flat out doesn't do it. So the Giants are down 2-0. Can they rally back? Can they win 4 of the other 5 I don't know, Bob. I don't think
Can
they
they
can.
rally back before it even begins?
So I reject wholeheartedly, while I stand by my rant, I wholeheartedly reject, they're not going to win it this year. You don't know. You do not know what rookie actually could contribute to winning. I've said this from the beginning with the whole play the kids mantra. As long as the play the kids mantra is not based on you giving up, crap, play the kids. No, like the kids can win.
Exactly.
I watched Frankie Rodriguez take over the Angels bullpen and shove it up the Giants as a rookie and win the World Series. Thank you. So, like, just because these guys are here and all of us want to prioritize them, to me does not mean, so, like, whatever happens this year is fine. No. I want to be selfish. I want both.
You don't have to just have one or the other. It doesn't have to be play the kids or try to win. It's play the kids and try to win. And it has to be that way for a franchise that fancies itself as a competitor each and every year. And that's what you do as the Giants. And so you're playing the kids, Matos, Ramos, and Luciano, and you're winning. If you play the kids and the kids aren't doing well, forget the winning or the losing part of it. If they come up and they're not doing well, then you move on to guys who maybe can do well. You take a look at them and you decide that they're not ready and you move on. You get to September and you're 20 games below 500, fine. Play the kids and you're not worried about winning at that point. But right now, as you mentioned, you're a game out and you're a game below 500. You're right in the thick of a race that is going to be probably a race to 85 wins to be the third wild card team, maybe 86. And I thought you were going to tell the story of last year's Arizona Diamondbacks and the fact that they weren't really that good in the regular season. And we've talked about the Washington Nationals before when they weren't very good in the regular season and they went out and they won the damn World Series. So you don't have to be that good anymore in Major League Baseball to be a team that has a chance to win the whole thing.
They went to the World Series.
Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't win it.
Washington did. Washington won it when they were no good.
Yes, got it.
Arizona win.
There's their win.
With
Washington
84.
I think it was 84.
And I think Philadelphia is the other example where they were 88, I think.
Yeah, it was no more than 88. It might have even been less.
Yeah.
Might have been 86, 87.
I thought it was 88.
Anyway,
it wasn't 90.
100%.
I know that.
It definitely was not 90.
So can the Giants be 85 and 77 and still win the damn thing?
And
sure.
I also think you can sit here today and at least imagine a possibility that the Giants would be a terrifying team to play in the playoffs based on the starting pitchers that are on their roster. I don't know how all of them are going to do. I don't know about their health, but there's absolutely a scenario that if the Giants get to the postseason and they look right at you and go, Webb, Snell, Harrison, or Robbie Ray.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not ready to talk about Robbie Ray.
No, but I'm just talking about a scenario.
I get it.
Right now, Blake Snell doesn't scare you that much either, but he might.
Well, he's starting to look more Snelly.
That was
Snelly
better.
Yes.
That was better. It wasn't great. It was better.
Right, and unfortunately, you're probably looking at 5 innings for Snell just about every outing until he's able to stretch out to 110 because he's almost a guaranteed 20 pitches per inning guy.
Well, that's who he is.
Right.
I mean, I remember the Giants going to San Diego against him a lot last year, and he's so frustrating to go against because you feel like the bases are loaded all the time.
Right.
I'm like, the bases are loaded with nobody out. How did he pitch out of it? Every time. So he will do that. He'll walk the tightrope, but he's still Blake Snell, and he does traditionally do well in the second half. So if the Giants get a wild card, like, I'm not doing this whole they're not winning it this year.
Right.
They might.
You just never know.
There's no way one game under 500 and a game out of the playoffs as we sit here on May 23rd that I'm declaring the Giants are not a contender. That's not baseball. You don't need to be a dominant team and have the best player to do well. The Giants, one of the things I loved about the way they went about their rotation is that it could be hairy in the playoffs. Like, absolutely hairy. Let's say Jordan Hicks isn't starting anymore. And let's say the Giants do have a Logan Webb and a Blake Snell and a Kyle Harrison, and whether it's a Robbie Ray, don't forget Alex Cobb, all the things that they could throw at you from a rotational standpoint. By the way, you get to the playoffs, one or two of those guys go to the bullpen. Hicks is in the bullpen. You know, you got this kid Rodriguez throwing gas in the bullpen.
Right.
You've got Camilo Doval in the bullpen. The Rogers guys are doing their thing. There are a couple other relievers who have looked really, really good. Walker, like that. They actually have the makings, if there's an offense, to scare the bleep out of the Dodgers or the Braves if they were an early round playoff opponent. So, yeah, I'd give up on nothing. Nothing.
You don't have to. And I'm thinking about 2010, just hearing you talk about it, and I'm looking right now at the end of June, and the Giants are sitting at 40-37 as June comes to a close. And you're not thinking at 40-37 about what's going to come in October when you beat Cliff Lee not once but twice, the unbeatable Cliff Lee. And that might be my favorite Giants game that I've ever been to, Game 1 of the 2010 World Series.
Oh, my God, the Uribe home run.
Yeah, and just...
Holy smoke.
You know, the feeling of invincibility going up against Cliff Lee, but knowing you had Tim Lincecum, and...
but also the disaster of a top of a first inning.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're down 2-0 based on him just going for a walk in the middle of the inning with the ball like he totally lost himself.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
It felt like that thing was going to go south in a hurry. And you can't beat Cliff Lee.
And now it's 2-0 before you've even touched your bats.
Yes. And then next thing you know, you put up a 6 spot on Mr. Unhittable. And now the crowd's into it, and you're up 8-2. And the rest, of course, is World Series history. But I bring this up just to say you're 40-37 after June, and you're looking like a team that, okay, just another mediocre campaign. No one's thinking about ending the more than 5-decade drought without a World Series title. You've never won one here anyway. Ho hum. And you go 28 in July, and all of a sudden you feel like you've got something. You're cooking. And that maybe is what we feel coming off this Pittsburgh series, because you got the young guys, and they are contributing. The team looks better. They look faster, younger, more athletic, more exciting. And I know it's just 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh, and you've got tough opponents straight ahead. However, it feels different watching this team than it did even a week ago.
Oh, of course it does. It 100% does. I mean, solely by the fact of the way the last 2 games went, to me, the number one thing that kills a baseball fan is when you fall down 3-0 and you're like, we can go home now.
Yeah.
That's the worst. And I'll even take you, it's not just the Pirates series. Remember, the game that I told you, the lovely Christy and I went to on Friday night. 3-0 after 1 inning. 4-1 after 2 innings. 10-5 the final, the Giants win. That's huge. You got 3 of those now. 3 of those in a week where the Giants have been down what felt like 2 weeks ago an insurmountable deficit, and they've erased them and won the baseball game in all of those. That's huge. Changes everything for the fans, changes everything for the players as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
50 runs in the last 6 games is the total.
Come on.
50 runs. You had 10 the game you went to. You followed it up with 14.
Yep.
Gutsy 4-1 win on Sunday. You lose 7-6. You win 9-5. And then today's game, you put up 7 more.
That's crazy.
A 50 burger in a week.
And really quick, the last 2 games, I mean, these aren't against scrubs. You got Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, 2 of the best young arms in all of baseball.
No doubt. And
Good
they got him out of the game. I know that today was not against Skeens, but you got to get him out of the game. And they got him out of the game. And then you do your damage against whoever you can do your damage against. Will Bednar's brother, Giants draft pick Will Bednar's brother, got absolutely hammered today for the Pirates. So, look, yeah, impressive stuff. You know what you just made me think of, though? Gosh, because I was there, too. Game 1, 2010. After the game in downtown San Francisco, will it ever look like that again? That's probably the most fun I have ever had walking around the streets of San Francisco after that game. The party that spilled out onto the streets.
Yeah.
Where cars were forgotten. The police were literally like, I'm sorry, if you're in a car, you wait. These people are having a good time, and we're not going to stop them. And it was bar to bar and block to block and hug to hug. And I just had a moment when you were talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, good Lord, is this place ever going to look like that again? I hope so.
I did too.
I hope so.
That was a special night. I was there with my ex and the Caner, Hurricane Gale, and both my kids, Quest and Keon, who were 9 and 7 at the time. And we had the seats right behind home plate. First row of the, believe me, dude, first row of the upper deck.
We were in the upper tank in left field.
We were next to the high home cameraman, and there's only 4 seats next to the camera well.
Yep, I know where you
Front row of the view deck. Best seat in the house.
I like where we were, though, because I had a line of about 7 or 8 of us, but I was on the end, and I was sitting next to a Ranger fan.
Oh, boy.
And he was feeding me the whole night before the game started because we got there early. And he was feeding me, you can't beat Cliff Lee. So I don't know what y'all are going to do tonight because you can't beat Cliff Lee. And every hit the Giants got, I turned to him, and I said, you can't beat Cliff Lee. You can't beat Cliff Lee. And then when Uribe homered, I almost fainted. I almost fainted. That place has never been louder. It's never been louder than that moment. Because that was when it went from a great night to an overnight. Like this game's done.
Like Saran.
Woo! All right.